These animals probably won't be very cute by the end of this video. I'll talk about these guys, and then afterwards put them on a tier list, with D tier being the least awful, and S tier being the most awful, because a tier list makes everything better nowadays. Also, if you enjoy it, then, you can consider liking and subscribing. Meerkats are actually pretty smart. They rely heavily on their social groups to keep them safe. They have lookouts all over their little dens and holes, and if they spot something, they will warn the rest of the group. However, as all things do, being in a social group has its downsides. All somewhat coordinated social groups have a social hierarchy, which pretty much just makes sure that there are low status and high status individuals within the group to give the group some sense of coordination, because without leaders and without followers, everything would fall apart. Now, these social hierarchies can determine many things within social groups. For meerkats, it determines who can have babies and who cannot. Meerkat mobs are ruled by an alpha female and an alpha male. Now, alpha females will do pretty much everything in their power to make sure that the lower status females do not raise any offspring of their own. This often leads to the alpha female killing the infants of the lower status females, or threatening to exile them if they are pregnant. Now, the lower status female has two options here. She can either leave the colony, which more often than not means death, or be forced to raise the alpha female's offspring as a form of punishment. Most choose the latter. Now, taking care of another female's babies is extremely stressful and greatly reduces the mental health and physical health of the females raising them, often losing much of their weight and probably becoming a little bit insane. But anyways, now if a lone female manages to find a few more lone females and possibly a lone male, then they can start a brand new colony of their own. But instead of ending the cycle of violence, the cycle starts all over again, with there being a new alpha female in this brand new colony, and the other females essentially being her subjects. So, infanticide isn't that uncommon in nature. A famous example is new alpha lions killing the previous male's offspring. Now, because of this, I can't place the meerkat anywhere above a low B tier, which might seem low, but it is going to get much, much worse. Like, fur seals, like many other species, are polygynous, which means that males have multiple partners, and these males have harems. This leads to the fact that many males are left without partners, and this can lead to some extreme consequences. Not for any of the seals, but for the penguins they share a habitat with. These lonely males will chase down these poor little emperor penguins, pin them down with their fins, and then the session begins. Sometimes these sessions can last up to multiple hours, with the longest recorded session being 14 hours. And for everyone's sake, I hope this was confirmed by some kind of camera trap that happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and not by some scientist that chose to sit there and watch this for 14 straight hours. Now, of course, after this hard exercise, the seal will be very tired. So often, it will eat its victim. Now, there might actually be multiple reasons that the seals do this. One of them is, of course, the fact that these lonely male seals just can't control themselves. The other reason is probably more rare, but still extremely plausible. And it is that adolescent seals see penguins as a tool to perfect their craft. I think this is definitely a couple of magnitudes worse than what the meerkats do. Graping another species and many times eating them afterwards is just awful. So I'm placing this in A tier. Okay, this one isn't nearly as serious as the other two I've mentioned so far. It is purely based on the fact that their reputation is a little cuddly animal that is slow-moving, lazy, and all it does all day is eat and sleep. But these little fluff balls are actually fluff balls disguised as electric razors. I swear to God, the more I find out about these guys, the more I dislike them. The babies can only survive by eating the mother's poop. And if that's the only way you can survive, then I think there is something wrong with your strategy fundamentally. What makes them even worse is they are reportedly one of the worst animals to handle in zoos. Many zookeepers actually prefer crocodiles over this little demon, which is really quite surprising. The zebra is in a similar situation, being another animal that is terrible to handle for zookeepers, but that I can kind of understand. They're bringing their trauma from Africa over here of escaping lions and dodging crocodiles. But koalas, they don't escape shit. All they do is sleep and eat all day, and yet for some reason, they're still assholes. Now, simply being a bit of an a-hole doesn't make you that bad in nature, so I'll place these guys in D tier, but that's only because this list has some downright diabolical animals. Also, they have chlamydia. That's right, I'm putting our own little pets on here. They are the most damaging invasive species on the planet besides us. But this isn't a video about just simply awful animals. It's a video about cute but awful animals. And a lot of humans really aren't that cute, except maybe some cutie patooties like you out there. Anyways, cats can be extremely sadistic sometimes when playing with their prey, chasing them, and playing with them until finally deciding to kill them. Now, they do have reasons for doing this. By chasing their prey, they make sure they're in good health. And so there is a much less chance of them getting sick from eating this particular animal. Also, cats will sometimes kill just for the sake of killing, which is one of the reasons for the massive decline of many local animal species, usually on islands where cats are suddenly introduced. Now, none of this is necessarily the cat's fault. It's just doing what it's naturally programmed to do. But since cats have convinced us to keep them as pets, they have traveled all over the world to places where they definitely should not be, disrupting and sometimes completely ruining entire ecosystems. For this reason, they deserve a C, since what they do is horrible, but it isn't really their fault. But for our last two animals, the things they do are most definitely their own fault. Otters are so cute in many ways. They crack seashells on their stomachs, and they hold each other's hands when floating at sea so they don't drift apart. But there are some downright disturbing facts about these innocent-looking little guys. The males, when mating, will nearly drown the female, and next to this, they'll commit infanticide. And if they can't find a mate, they will resort to graping other animals or dead bodies. So I think this is our first S tier. However, our last animal is possibly the most diabolical animal in the world besides ourselves. Okay, it seems like the more intelligent an animal is, the more sadistic and cruel they are. I mean, look at our closest relatives, chimpanzees. They are the most violent animals in the world besides us, but I think that is actually a pretty well-known fact. Dolphins, on the other hand, have sold us on their majesticness. We pretty much think of them like sea unicorns or something, but they're more like I don't know, you'll see what they're like. Infanticide is the least horrible among the things they do. Groups of males will kidnap females from other pods and then proceed to have their way with the female. And if you thought the 14-hour session with the seal and the penguin was bad, these males can keep the female there for weeks until every single one of them is completely satisfied. And if the female tries to escape, they will bite her, smack her, charge her, and this can leave the female with many, many bruises. But that isn't where the horniness ends. They will try to have their way with pretty much anything that moves or used to move. Even some unfortunate scuba divers, there are some very disturbing clips on the internet, they also play with their prey. But unlike cats, where it is almost a part of their natural behavior and actually serves a purpose, they do this out of pure enjoyment. And one very bad case was when they were tossing around a baby shark like a volleyball. It's so ironic, isn't it? The sea creature we find the most magnificent and pure also tortures the child of the one we fear the most. So yes, this is also going in the S tier. Thank you for watching, and if I've ruined any of your favorite animals, let me know down in the comments. Also, do all the, things that YouTubers ask at the end of their videos, Goodbye.